Hello YouTube, we're back in Kerbal Space Program. I wanted to make a ship for delivering satellites into orbit and make it as small and effective a ship as possible to create a ship that could launch any one of these satellites into orbit and do so with a minimum amount of fuel and space wasted. So let's see how this thing flies. And of course it takes a while to load. Okay, here we go. Okay, throttle up and let's launch. Of course these satellites are pretty light, so it doesn't take a lot of effort to put them up into orbit. Hardly more than putting just a command capsule up there. But of course the idea was to build a effective and cool looking ship, which I think I've managed pretty well. Okay, we're heading up. These 4 small boosters are not gonna last for long, and we are going to be getting rid of them pretty soon now. They're almost half gone. Well, they are half gone. But their job is to just get us out of the thickest part of the atmosphere. If they do that, then I'm quite happy with their efforts. And we're nearly there. Okay, now we're gonna want to turn ourselves a little bit at first, and then we'll turn some more as we get higher up. Okay, another tiny turn at 18,000, a little more at 22, and so much for the boosters. Okay, now let's turn towards 45 degrees, and we're still accelerating. Excellent. We have 12,500 kilos of fuel here, so it should be enough to get us up into space. Of course, this ship has so little fuel that you have to turn just right, or you might not make it up there. It's built for an efficient satellite launching, not for traveling around. Okay, we need to adjust our angle a bit there, a bit more. Okay, there we are. Okay, once we're up in space, I'm going to remove the shroud and you'll see the satellite and the final stage of the rocket. Okay, and we are into space. Our apoapsis is at 117 kilometers. Okay, let's switch back. Remove the shroud. Okay, I picked the heaviest satellite to make sure that I could deliver any one of them up into space as necessary. Okay, now we're gonna turn towards the horizon and wait until we're a bit closer to the apoapsis, say 100 kilometers up, which will be any second now. And then we're gonna burn towards the horizon and aim for our orbit. Okay. See, this final stage only has half a normal fuel tank, so it's pretty small. And of course it has these radial engines instead of a single engine on the bottom. You have to add, I added 2 because you have to add at least 2 in order for the thing to be balanced, obviously. Now I hope I didn't wait too long to start my burn, but I don't think I did. 1 minute should be more than enough to apply as much thrust as we need. Now this should have enough delta V to give us an orbit, and this final stage is for adjusting our orbit if we need to, pushing ourselves into a slightly higher orbit, that is, and for coming back down again, of course. Okay. Yes, the time till we hit our apoapsis is actually increasing, which means that as long as we keep burning, we're not gonna come falling down again. So, we're cool now. Yes, of course, after we finish this flight, I'll take this ship apart and show you how it's constructed. This stage will get us into orbit, then this whole part will be detached and will push itself back out of orbit, so that it comes crashing down and burning up in the atmosphere, so that we don't pollute the space around our planet with garbage. Okay, let's turn ourselves a bit downwards in anticipation of our angle changing and wait till we're a bit closer to the apoapsis for maximum fuel efficiency. The closer you are to either the apoapsis or the periapsis, depending on what you want to do, the more efficiently you alter your orbit when you burn. And of course in space you always affect the opposite side of your orbit. See, when I turn in the direction I'm moving, like this, it will sort of make our rocket climb into a higher orbit. Whereas if I burned in the opposite direction, we would slow ourselves down into a lower orbit. As you can see, we are pointing the direction we're heading, and if I add a bit more thrust, the opposite side of our orbit goes up. Now we're gonna climb into a slightly higher orbit here, say 250 kilometers for launching our satellite, and we're gonna make it as circular as possible. Still have a bit of fuel left here, so it should be fine. Now we wait a little bit more. Hit our apoapsis. I mean, 30 kilometers might not seem like a lot, but it can mean a huge difference in where you are, at which part of your orbit you're at. Because you travel along a circle or an elliptic orbit, so a difference of a couple of thousand meters can mean a significant difference in the how far along your orbit you are in degrees. Well, anyway, let's climb into a higher orbit here, and this is as circular as we can hope to make it. So first thing we do, we get rid of this, make sure our engines are off, and we send this hurtling towards the planet Kerbin. By the time those turn off, it will be way, way, way away from us, 3 kilometers. That should bring it crashing down, as intended. Those engines are working. Now let's release this satellite. Now we need to turn ourselves... we need to turn SAS off. We need to turn ourselves away from it and burn away from it without catching it in our engine backwash and damaging it. Okay, so that's a successful satellite launch, and now we wait for an appropriate part of our orbit to bring ourselves down.